Peace and blessings, beloved. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. All right, well, we begin in the name of God, the compassionate and the merciful. All praises be unto the Most High God, the Lord of all, the all in all, who dwells within all. The compassionate and the merciful Master of the day of judgment. It is you who we worship. It is from you that we get our help. Guide us on the straight path, the path of those who thou hast blessed, not those who have incurred your wrath or those who have been led astray. God, we thank you for being God. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. So, today I want to go ahead and get straight into it. A lot has been going on. We all know that in the political arena, there's been a lot that has happened. And I get it. A lot of people have been experiencing a lot of sadness, depression, anxiety in relation to the results of the most recent election. So, how do we maintain our peace in the midst of everything that's going on around us? I've seen a lot of people on social media, a lot of people have been upset, people have been crying, people have been getting into arguments with each other. So, how do we make sure that we're okay? How do we make sure that we're okay despite what's going on around us? So, let's start with the biggest thing, all right? Ubuntu. All right. Some of you may be saying, like, what is this? What is this Ubuntu that you keep talking about, Dietrich? Well, Ubuntu, again, is a South African principle that means I am because we are. I am because we are. So I am because we are. That's what Ubuntu means. Now, think about the cells that are in your body, right? Okay. So, every cell that's in your body, okay, no two cells are alike. They're me, but they're not me in its entirety, right? But they're also not me. Because if I take a cell outside of me, it doesn't survive. Cells, they are staying in this constant cycle of creation, progression, and regeneration. Creation, progression, and regeneration. And all of the cells in my body in their entirety make up who I am. I'm never disconnected from my cells, and my cells are never disconnected from me. So we have to think about this when I say Ubuntu in every way, in the mental, in the physical, in the spiritual. We are all connected, we are all one. We are all members of one great whole. All right, we are all members of one great thing, the collective all that is. And this all is eternal. This all is what we call source. This all is the universe, or whatever name you want to put on it. And so when I understand that I am all that is connected around me, then that means that I am co-creators in the experience that I choose to live. So I am I am a part of creation, and creation is a part of me. I really want you to understand this, beloved. So then that means that God is a part of who I am, and I am a part of the all that is the divine creator. That means that I create my own experience. I create my own reality. I am. So in the Bible, one of the names that God uses to describe himself is I am that I am. I just am. I'm here. I've always been here. And to be honest with you, I am isn't even a correct name. It's a description. It, it describes the very nature and the character of God. I am. I'm just here. I've always been here. I've always existed. I've always been. I'm here. And so we are a part of the here that is here. This is important because this is the very foundation of what we are doing here and what I'm trying to establish with the Ubuntu Fellowship Assembly. The understanding of the collective oneness of all, that we are all part of this big whole thing. And this big whole thing is God. So, if I say that I am because we are, let's think about some affirmations, right? So, what's a what's some good affirmations that we can say about ourselves? So, what does it mean to make an affirmation? What is an affirmation? Does anybody? Matter of fact, I'm going to ask one of my children. Zoe, do you know what affirmation means? Something that you tell yourself, okay? So it's something that you affirm as a fact, or something that you state as fact, something that you state what is. So I am. Let's think about some good ones to think about. I am strong. Um, I am kind. Good job, son. I am creative. That's another one. Noah said kind too. I am becoming my best self. So the principle of Ubuntu is that when I see myself in other people, I can never be disconnected from them. And it keeps a level of peace amongst us. So I am strong. So if I am strong, then I see strength in other people. If I am kind, I choose to see kindness in other people. If I am creative, I choose to see creativity in someone else. If I am becoming my best self, then I choose to see others as becoming their best selves. All right? So this is the principle of Ubuntu and oneness, not only with all that is, but with each other. Okay? So let's think about this. Who am I? Who am I? Because I believe that a lot of reasons why people have been so upset and had a lot of anxiety, and it's just been an array of emotions that have been displayed on social media, all in relation to this election. Because we have owned an identity that has been given to us by external sources. So we look at these political candidates and we identify ourselves with them. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, there has been a level of identity that has been associated with these political candidates. And because of that, because of the outcome, depending on whether the outcome happened this way or an outcome happened the other way, it has now affected who you are. So now, because of something that happened outside of me, because of something that I identified with outside of me, it has now altered the affirmations that I have said for myself. So I don't feel very strong if I identify with the outcomes of elections, because at the end of the day, that's outside of my control. So if I identify with that, then I'm going to constantly be left in a state of frustration, because I cannot control the will of the people. I cannot control people's voting interests. I cannot control the minds and the tactics and the behaviors of the rich 1% that influence a lot of what we do in this country, influence our government, influence our laws, influence how we interact with each other, influence our media, influence what we see out on billboards. So I have to have an identity that I own, that's independent of other people, that's independent of what people tell me who I am. I am who I am. So this isn't blasphemous for us to say I am that I am. It is the very, when you say I am, that's the God in you talking. I am this. And so when we're making affirmations, try not to say I will or I can. Because let's think about it like this. If you say I can be whatever I want to be, well, remember what I said with affirmations, we state what is as fact. So to state what is means that I have to, is a present state of mind. It's a present state of being. So I can be whatever I want to be, But me being who I want to be may cause anxiety because of somebody's reaction or because of things that happen outside of my control. So I have to be able to state an identity that's purely contingent on me and not dependent on the outcomes of other things outside of me. So the better affirmations are to say that I am strong. I exist. I choose to be strong. I choose to be kind. I'm not going to become kind. I am creative. I am becoming my best self. So I'm constantly in a present state of becoming. Because as long as I say what will happen, I'm now dependent upon the outcome to regulate my peace. And this is what I want us to get away from. I want us to get away from being dependent on outcomes to give us peace, to give us happiness, to give us contentment. So let's think about this detachment. Okay? I want us to think about this, and I talk about this in counseling sometimes about the importance of detachment because we have allowed ourselves to be attached to identities that we did not create for ourselves. We have allowed ourselves to become attached to outcomes that we did not, that was even outside of our control. So let's think about this here. What does it mean to be detached? Now, sometimes being detached is a bad thing. You ever met somebody that was emotionally detached and they weren't invested in, a relationship? That's a bad form of detachment. But there is a good form of detachment that I teach clients. The root of detachment is my peace is independent of the outcome. So this is the root of detachment theory. My peace is independent of the outcome. As long as I am attached to an outcome, I will never have peace. And I know that sometimes that's hard because we have these expectations based off of things that are outside of our control. But when you stop trying to get a thing, have you ever noticed that sometimes when you get into a present state of gratitude and acceptance, then what you want to happen will happen. What you want to come will come. Attachment is linked to, depending on what you're attached to, it can be linked to anxiety, depression, anger, fear, and then you start getting these automatic thoughts in your head. You start getting these automatic thoughts in your head about, oh, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? Well, what if this doesn't work out? What if this doesn't work out? What if I don't get this? What if I don't get that? But when you affirm, I am at peace, regardless of the outcome. I am okay, regardless of what happens, because I know that I have what I need to get what I want. This is how we affirm ourselves. This is how we regulate our own emotions so that the outcomes of external things don't destroy our peace. So the root of detachment theory is I must let go of what I expect to happen and accept what is. A lot of times people stay in the cycle of past and future thinking. They just stay in the cycle, past, future. What happened to me, what I did, my mistakes, and then what's coming. What happened, what's coming. what happened, what's coming. And people spend very little time in the present. People spend very little time in the present moment thinking about, well, if I maintain and take care of today, tomorrow will automatically take care of itself. Why? Because there's going to be things outside of my control. I can't do nothing about that. But if I do what is in my control in the here and now, tomorrow will take care of itself. And I don't have to know what's coming to know that I will be okay. A lot of people have allowed themselves to get upset this past week because they took on an identity of whatever politics or whatever thing you follow. But that's not who you are. That's a man-made construct to really keep us divided. And so we have to learn the balance of embracing our emotions, but not suppressing our emotions. So you don't do yourself any favors by ignoring what you really feel. I'll give you an example. All right, so I'm starting up a whole ministry, okay, in my living room. That I struggle every time before I hit the go live button. I struggle every time because I know that I can do it, but then I'm thinking about the outcome. What are people going to say? Is this going to take off? Is it going to resonate with people? What if somebody doesn't like it? And I have to combat those thoughts with, I know what God told me to do. I am in the place where God has told me to be in, and I am content with it. And if it only reaches one person, then glory be unto God. If it only changes one person's life, then glory be unto God. Because the goal of this is not to be popular. The goal of this is not to have a mega church or a mega ministry. The goal of this is to be effective. I am being effective in the present moment. And so as long as I know that I am being effective in the here and now, whatever the results are, whether it's positive or negative, I will be okay. I am okay, regardless of what happens around me. But then if you start taking on other attachments, then whatever happens to what you're attached to is going to directly affect you. Now, some attachments are good. I am a father. Okay? So whatever happens to my children, I'm directly affected by it. This is the reason why we feed our kids when they get hungry. This is the reason why when they're sick, we give them medicine. Because I'm directly impacted and attached to the outcome of their lives. So in this instance, attachment is a good thing. But from what I have seen, a lot of us are attaching ourselves to things that we should not. And that is not who I am. I am not anything that causes strife and division. I am not anything that induces anxiety and fear. So I choose not to attach myself to anything on social media that's causing division. I choose not to attach myself to anything that's going to induce anxiety, fear, or anger. I had to learn this in 2020. Remember everything that was happening in 2020? Oh my goodness, you had Ahmaud Arbery, then you had Breonna Taylor, then we all know about what happened to George Floyd. And because I'm a black man, I see what's happening to other black people and I identify with it. So the outcomes of people that I've never met directly impact me. So I have to be able to have a level of detachment. I am compassionate. I do care about the experiences of marginalized people, especially if those marginalized people look like me. But I am not attached to the outcome. I can express compassion and empathy without attaching myself to the outcome. So, beloved, we have to get to a place where we understand who I am. Ubuntu, I am because we are. So, I am because we are. That means that I am doing this because I'm attached to us getting on one accord. I'm attached to the outcome of us walking in peace and knowing our own internal divinity. Religion only gave us half of the equation. It taught us spiritual principles, balance, discipline, the importance of prayer. These things are good things. But it taught us to externalize something that's already on the inside of us. God cannot be omnipresent and not be present in and in every and in all things. God cannot be omnipresent and not be present in all things. So I am a part of the I am. And the I am is a part of who I am. But just like the cells in our body, okay, because no two cells are alike. Each cell has its own identity, its own personality. But the cells themselves are not me. They are a part of me. And separated from me, they cease to exist. But the entirety of all that is me is the all of my cells together. So we are cells within the great universe of the eternal, immortal God. Okay? We are members of the collective whole. This is what Ubuntu means. So we have to think about ourselves as one collective unit. And then we have to disconnect ourselves from things that cause us to divide ourselves, like politics. Because at the end of the day, these folk gonna do what they're gonna do. In Washington, in government, yeah, you exercised your right. Now let it be. Let it go. And stop getting upset with someone else because they chose to do something different than you. I am loving. That's another affirmation. And the reason why I say loving, because you can know what love is. You can know what love is and not be operating in love. So I am loving. Love operates off of the principle of freedom to choose. I cannot say that I love you and I'm manipulating your choices. Or I'm getting mad because you make a choice that I don't like. So operating in true harmony is accepting that people may make choices that I may not agree with. We must still walk in unity. We must still walk in love. We must still walk in understanding. Disagreement doesn't have to lead to conflict. Disagreement doesn't have to lead to war. I can respectfully disagree with you and still love you. But you can't say that you believe in freedom of choice and then you get mad when people exercise their freedom of choice. So what they didn't vote for the candidate that you wanted? So what? In the big scheme of it all, we have to remember that we are one. And we must detach ourselves from the outcomes of identities that have been placed on us by people who don't have our best interests at heart. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And sometimes people sell us these images that they want us to identify with. And now we relinquish our power. Because I am is the most powerful statement that you can ever say. It's the God in you talking. I am okay. That's a powerful statement to make. Because regardless of what happens around me, I'm okay. I'm all right. I have what I need. The last thing that I want to say to you, beloved, because I'm trying to make sure that I stay within a certain time frame. And like I said, I'm going to be doing this every Sunday. Every Sunday. Um, Trying to do somewhere between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. But I want to give you a practical tool that you can think of to help you remain detached and productive. All right? Oh, God, I thank you. This stuff, it makes me excited. It makes me excited, you know, because this is true. This is true. And regardless of what religion that you might be, that you have been brought up in, let the God that's in you, let the spirit within you bear witness to whether I'm saying it's true or not. Hey, Miss Winston, thank you for viewing. Hey. So yes, absolutely. Regardless of what background you come from, this is true. Why am I attaching myself to identities that was given to me? I decide who I am and who I choose to be. I will. I will post it on the Ubuntu page as well. I will. So I like to call this the cycle of productivity. All right. So you have an idea. This leads to planning, which leads to action, which leads to evaluation, which leads back to another idea. So, productivity. How do we remain productive? Because we've been talking about all these concepts and theories and identities and understandings, but how do we remain productive? So, you have an idea, a thought. So, after you get an idea, you must filter the good ideas from the bad ideas. Because depending on what emotional state you're in, you might have some ideas that you might not want to do. So filter the good ideas from the bad ideas. Then you start planning. You must have a structure to whatever you do. Whatever you're planning, because just because you're planning doesn't mean that you don't have structure with what you're doing. Okay? So write it out. Give yourself steps. Give yourself reasonable goals. And think about what is the reasonable course of action to bring about the best result. Okay? So then you're doing your action. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace in what you do. Grace means being patient regardless of the circumstance. Okay? Grace means being patient regardless of the circumstance. Okay? So while you're carrying out the action from the plan, from your idea, give yourself grace. Because there's going to be external factors that are not in your control. As long as I have an expectation of an outcome, I leave myself vulnerable for anxiety and sadness. After you give yourself grace with your action, you must be truthful in your evaluation. Be honest with yourself. Was it effective? Do you know how many times we do things and it wasn't effective? But we had the right idea. We had a decent plan. But certain things you won't know until you carry out the action. Now, hear me. A lot of people get stuck here, planning. They'll have a great idea and then they get stuck in the planning mode because fear keeps them from getting here. This is the reason why you have to give yourself grace. This is the reason why you must give yourself grace in the actions that you carry out. And then be truthful. Did it work? Did it not work? Okay. So regardless of the outcome, I'm either going to grow from what I did wrong or expand upon what I did right. Either way, I'm okay. Either way, I have what I need to get what I want. Why? Because I am creative. I am strong enough to withstand failure. Now, that's something that God had to teach me. I have the resilience to handle accepting that I did something wrong, even though my heart was in the right place. And I have the resilience to start all over again. And productivity is not a linear thing. It's a circular thing. I'm constantly working at being more productive. Okay? So once you evaluate your plan and your action, then you come up with another idea to either expand upon what you did right or to learn from what you did wrong. And this helps keep us detached from the outcome so that we do not take on identities that end up harming our peace. All right? So we must reclaim our identity. What is our identity? We are Ubuntu. We are members of a collective whole. I am because we are. And we are the I am. We are members of a collective oneness of all that is. This is in mentality, this is in biology, and this is spiritually. Okay? God is within us. So I do not have to beg God. I don't have to beg something outside of me. God is present in all things at all times. So if I need something, I turn within. Because God is here. God is here. God is here. Don't let anybody make you forget who you are, beloved. We are the I am. But the second that we separate ourselves from each other and operate in division, we lose our identity. And as a result, we lose ourselves. So, beloved, if you stuck with me this long, I appreciate you giving me your time on this beautiful Sunday morning. Thank you again for viewing. I hope that what was said gave you something beneficial. All right? Until the next time, beloved, God's peace be upon you. And remember always, Ubuntu, I am because we are.